when India played a one-day match in Durham. We stayed in a place called the Castle. It's the Christie Castle up there in Durham, and it's supposed to be haunted. Harsha and I decided to play a little trick on Navjot. We just knocked on his door, and who is it? He jumped a mile. That night, he didn't sleep a wink. There's one aspect that I haven't enjoyed recently, and that is the Mumbai fans booing Hardik Pandya. Yeah, and I don't like this. And I heard Sanjay Manjrekar doing the toss, and he told the Mumbai, the Wankhede fans, he said, behave.
Behave, yes.
And I think he's right.
I mean, everything you just said, I completely agree to it. But it's not about what has happened. It is about how it has happened. So hello and welcome to the podcast. First of all, I would like to thank you for coming in and having a chat with us. Making time from a busy schedule, it means a lot. And I would like to start the podcast by congratulating you because you're the new president of the Glamorgan County Cricket Club. So many congratulations. Do you think the life has circled back to where it started for you?
Yeah, I think that's the right word. Actually, it has come full circle because, I went to school in Whitchurch Grammar School in Cardiff, which is now Whitchurch High School.
Yeah. And
it's produced a lot of very famous sports people, Gareth Bale, Sam Warburton, Geraint Davis from the Tour de France. And Whitchurch was very much a cricket school, cricket and rugby. And through all the age years, from the age of about, 8, 9 years of age, I began cricket. My father was a cricketer. And I went through the process of all the different age levels. And so coming through Cardiff schools, Welsh secondary schools, and then Glamorgan Club and Ground, Glamorgan Seconds, and then breaking into the Glamorgan team. And then playing cricket around the world in different parts, in South Africa, in Singapore, and going on different tours. And so all that went, sent tentacles around the world, and it's all come back. So to be president of Glamorgan is something that I'm still coming to terms with, if you like, because it's a major role, but it's a hands-on role because I'm also on the board of management at the club as well.
Yeah.
So it's a full circle, and I want to make a difference.
Yeah, so talking about you starting to play cricket, I mean, you're Welsh and, growing up here, the weather, it's like raining almost 12 months a year. And like even the summer when it's supposed to be sunny for 2 months, sometimes it could rain and you wouldn't be surprised. And like a country who's like obsessed with rugby and is also making sure the people who are coming here within 6 months, they are obsessed with rugby as well. So how did you like... as you mentioned, like your father played cricket, but like what really got you into it? Like especially fast bowling,
Yeah, well, yes, my father was a fine cricketer, and it was the war years that stopped him from playing professionally. But I think we all grew up on playing cricket and rugby. I played a lot of rugby, but I had to decide at some stage to stop playing rugby because I was getting the occasional injury. Hamstrings were a bit of a problem. So if you get injured in December, January, February playing rugby, it doesn't put you in good fettle for the start of the cricket season, which was April. And April, as you well know, it rains. So we actually do have, now and again, I know it's difficult for you to understand this, but we do have good summers now and again.
This is my first summer here, so I'm in for a experience.
This is the wettest, dreariest winter I can ever remember. And I think actually it is the wettest winter for 130 years. So, it is. And actually, the cricket season is almost upon us. Yeah. And, New Road, Worcester is underwater. It's a lake.
Yeah.
And the many grounds are struggling through the winter. So, in answer to your question, though, it was cricket, football, and rugby. Cricket, football, rugby, some athletics in there as well. But I think I was always destined to play cricket. And I just felt, I just had this ability to bowl quick, with left arm quick. And I tried at one stage, actually, to bowl left arm spin. The Glamorgan club asked me to try spin because we had a lot of left arm bowlers.
Yeah.
It didn't work. I mean,
Were you like a Chinaman? Or
no,
were you
proper,
like
just a proper,
off spinner?
yeah, no, left arm spinner. So
Left arm, yeah.
yeah, no, that didn't work. It didn't work, and I stayed bowling my left arm stuff. So and then of course it was the injury to my shoulder which made me think that I had to make a career change, but that was down the line. But the first few years through schools, through the secondary school system, and then through the Glamorgan Club and Ground, it was a fantastic journey. I played a lot of cricket.
Yeah.
Played a lot of cricket to get where I eventually wanted to be, which was playing for Glamorgan, and then a couple of seasons for Gloucestershire.
Yeah, so like as you mentioned, you played for Glamorgan and Gloucestershire. I mean, you have 230 first class wickets, 232 first class wickets, 130 list A wickets.
That's it.
So when did you decide? Like, was it like an injury that decided, okay, now enough of me playing, let me get into something else?
Well, yes. My third year with Gloucestershire. So in the seasons 80 and 81, I took 106 championship wickets for Gloucestershire in 2 seasons. 106 county championship wickets. And that, these days, is a lot of wickets. That's a lot of wicket taking. And then in 82, I was actually playing cricket in Pretoria in South Africa, and I felt a niggle in my shoulder, a pain. I went to see the medical people there, and they advised that it was a bit of a frozen shoulder, but because of the weather over there, because it was so warm, and I was swimming every day, I was training every day, I didn't really feel that it was that serious. But the moment I came back here to this country in April of 82, my shoulder completely packed up. And I went then for a manipulation. I had no cut. There was no surgery to cut and repair any tendons or ligaments, but it was a full manipulation. And I had to take a lot of time off. But for one reason or another, I got back into cricket too early, too fast, and the rehab wasn't long enough.
There wasn't recovery period.
So no. So I broke down again. So I didn't bowl a ball in first-class cricket in 1982. Not one single ball in first-class cricket. So
in the entire season?
No, I just played a couple of second-team games. It was awful. I felt that my world would crash down beside me because, as I said, the previous 2 years with Gloucestershire, I'd picked up over 100 wickets, 106 wickets. And then there were a lot of factors for me to say, because the club wasn't happy. Of course they weren't happy, and I wasn't happy. And then domestically there were things falling apart. And so I made the call to go back to Glamorgan. Glamorgan offered me terms to come back.
Yeah.
And I did. I came back, and that season 83 was not a successful season. I didn't enjoy it. I was not quite the same bowler. And all the way through that summer, I began to think that I had to think of something else. I'd signed a 3-year contract with Glamorgan, but to me it wasn't the same. I wasn't the same. I didn't have the same nip, the same that really propelled me into, into playing some very good cricket. I was playing some very good cricket, but it wasn't quite the same.
And you struggled to find the rhythm back.
Yeah. I did, absolutely, I did, and it wasn't. So I said to myself, and I said to my parents, I said, I'm going to finish. I'm going to stop playing. I was 28. Then I'm 29 when I finished. So I was very, very fit otherwise.
Yeah.
But that's when I made the decision that I would stop playing. And it hurt, but I had to, because you never get those years back. You always want to play as long as you can, and to get the most out of your body when you've got the years on your side. But but it was a huge decision to make, but I made it.
I mean, when you say it hurts, I mean, every person who has played cricket, and trust me, every player who has played cricket in India has dreamed to play it for the country. And the competition over there. So when you say it breaks your heart, I mean, everyone relates, everybody who's watching it, they'll relate, because there comes a point in your life where you're like, okay, yeah, this is not for me. It's not happening.
Yeah,
and that is like a revelation.
Yeah, and there's a lot of passion and emotion in playing. It's not just a mechanical structure that you adhere to. It's emotion and the emotion of taking wickets, the emotion of being away from home, the emotion of experiencing lows when you're not taking wickets or when you're not scoring runs. And yes, I get that emotion in India because I've been going there for many, many years. And, there are so many good cricketers in India that, you've got the first, I'm talking about the test team. You could have a test team. You could have a test team without Virat Kohli and still, and Mohammad Shami and still beat England.
That's a big statement you have made right there.
But, you can have a second team and you can have a third team in India. And then there are still a lot of very good cricketers playing Ranji Trophy. It's a vast supply of real talent in India. But from my level back then, when I say it did hurt, to actually call time on my career when I knew that I could have carried on. I could have, but I just didn't feel it was. I just did not feel that as a bowler I was doing enough to warrant being a professional cricketer. And I thought there was a better place for me to be. My head needed to be in a better place. I went away to South Africa after that season, knowing that I was going to give it up. And knowing that I wanted to do something else, and that something else was broadcasting.
Yeah, so I was coming to broadcasting. So what made you think you could be a coach, you could be a mentor for the teams, you could do anything. There are infinite opportunities. What got you into broadcasting? Because broadcasting back then wasn't a huge thing. It was just radio, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was just radio.
My start was radio. And because BBC Radio Wales covered all Glamorgan matches, there were a lot of very good broadcasters who covered Glamorgan playing away from home. They covered Glamorgan matches at home. And with my being in and out of the side, occasionally 12th man, whoever was the BBC Wales radio reporter would say to me, look, if you're sitting on your backside for a few hours, why didn't you come and sit in the box with us? On a Saturday afternoon, there would be a BBC Radio Wales sports program for 4 hours, different cricket matches, rugby, football, wherever it was. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. And it really, it appealed to me.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't want to coach. I was too young to coach. I didn't want to coach. And this actually became something that I wanted to do. And so I did a tape. I did an audition tape. Glamorgan against Derbyshire. It was a match in which I was playing. I did that at Swansea, and it was the old-fashioned tape. None of your digital stuff. And it was literally tape. It was put on a tape. It was sent by post to Johannesburg, where I knew people in the SABC, the South African Broadcasting Corporation, and they listened to it. They said, okay, he sounds all right. He's possibly got a future. Let's see how it goes. And then I made the call over that Christmas not to come back to this country. Told my parents, told people here I wasn't coming back to play, told the club, and they weren't that happy. But I said, look, I've made the call. And the small print in the contract said if you give 3 months' notice, you can terminate your contract, which is what I did. And then my broadcasting career really began in January 1984, 40 years ago.
More than 40 years in broadcasting.
40 years ago. So that began with the English radio service of the SABC in Johannesburg, and it was a fantastic start. I covered everything: rowing, gymnastics, athletics, rugby, cricket, golf, tennis, bowls, ladies' bowls. You name it. It was the best possible intro into covering sport with a microphone. And then television came a little later. But essentially it was radio. And I worked with some of the finest radio broadcasters ever who were based there in Johannesburg.
So your first outing as a broadcaster was basically in South Africa, you're covering. And what was the first international cricket tour you remember, the very first?
Well, the first international tour was actually the Rebel Tour, the Australian Rebels, who came to South Africa. This was Kim Hughes' team. And this is when, because South Africa were isolated because of the apartheid policy of the government, and so I was there at the time, and so the first taste of international cricket was with the Australian Rebels. The English team came over, but I wasn't broadcasting on that. I didn't cover that. Or did I cover? I can't. I think I did some of it. But in terms of international cricket, when I came back to this country in the August-September of 1987. And I picked it up with, covering now Glamorgan matches, and I was now doing television as well as radio. So whenever the touring team came here, we would cover that. Possibly my first international tour would have been the 1994, when the South Africans came here, when they were welcomed back into the international fold. So 1994, they hadn't toured this country since 1969 because of the isolation.
Yeah.
And this is the SABC asked me to host that entire tour, and I did that tour in this country. It was just the most extraordinary experience. So that was with the SABC and with Glamorgan, and then in 1996 was when I had the call from ESPN Star Sports to cover the Muhammad Azharuddin's India tour of this country.
Oh.
So that's my first foray into covering a tour by India. Into this country. I think there were 3 test matches. It was the international debut of Sourav Ganguly, of Rahul Dravid, Sachin, and this team was amazing. This was an amazing side, and that was in 1996. Yeah, 96. I'm just trying to think if I'm right in saying that, or was it 1990? No, it must have been 96. Anyway, that was the tour, and it started a whole new chapter in my life.
Yeah, amazing. So, when it comes to broadcasting, so the place where I come from, growing up, I had no clue until, very recently in my life that broadcasting or commentating could be a career for someone who has not played international cricket. Because growing up, I had no clue Harsha Bhogle never played for India. Growing up, I used to feel like, okay, this is one of the ex-cricketers. And then when I was around 14 or 15, I was like, no, he's actually a broadcaster. He's never played for India. So, and I've seen this in cricket, correct me if I'm wrong, but, usually the ex-players will go on to commentate. So, when you started your career and when people knew, so this is someone who has not played international cricket for his country, how was it? Were they welcoming? Were there some people who are you don't know enough about international things and, you shouldn't be talking about it? How was it?
It was much more of a level playing field then. I didn't play international cricket, but my cricket at county level was of a high quality, so I knew enough about the game. But there are broadcasters now of the modern age who demand that if you're going to be in a commentary box, that they like the fact that you've played an international level. Harsha Bhogle is a phenomenon, really. He has 9 million followers on Twitter. It's only the top cricketers who beat him in terms of numbers following him, but he's a man for the people.
Definitely.
You see, Harsha is a very bright, very intelligent human being who has an empathy with the sport, and he can relate that to the man in the street. So people like Harsha Bhogle, Mark Nicholas, myself, Mark Howard now in Australia, and James Brayshaw, Australia, we didn't play international cricket. But there's a place for someone who has not played international cricket. We call the game. We're the number one. And then you have an international cricketer, former international, sitting next to you.
It's like an expert opinion.
That's right. It could be Tom Moody, Matthew Hayden, Danny Morrison, could be whoever. But there is a way, because there is so much cricket. Not everyone who's played international cricket automatically drops into broadcasting and finds the technique, the wording, the vocabulary, the construction of sentences, the way to create stories and pictures. Harsha can do that.
Yeah, definitely.
And he has a place because the people of India love him. The people of Australia
love him.
Love Harsha Bhogle. Yeah. So he is an inspiration for a lot of people. He's an inspiration for me. He really is. And Harsha and I first met him on this 96 tour.
Yes.
He and I became friends, and we've become lifelong friends. And it's important for me that man in the street can identify with a Harsha Bhogle.
Yeah, like there's like a relatability factor.
Absolutely
when it comes
right.
to it. Yes.
And, he inspires people in all walks of life, not just cricket broadcasting. CEOs of major companies in India relate to Harsha Bhogle because he can bring the international cricket aspect and the broadcasting aspect together and put it on such a level where he can relate that to certain aspects of business and commerce in
leadership
India.
and
Absolutely right. Absolutely. So there's a lot of challenges out there, and I know that a lot of people, people who maybe do the course that you're doing here in Cardiff Metropolitan University, sports broadcasting course, say, how do I get into it? How do I get into it? It is getting tougher.
Yes.
But there are more platforms now.
Yeah.
And, when I started, it was just television or radio. And now you've got these digital platforms. You've got so many streaming formats. There's so many ways to get into the business that there's a lot more choice now. And I would advise anyone to don't lose heart. Broadcasters, just because you're not Kevin Peterson, or you're not Matthew Hayden, or you haven't played 100 times for your country, don't lose heart. There is a place somewhere, and there are other people in broadcasting, in India especially, because it's a tough school. India's a tough school. And, there are outlets, the IPL, for instance, you can get in with a franchise and you can look after their broadcasting.
Yes.
Or their social media.
Social media channels coming up,
it's a whole open book as far as I'm concerned, which wasn't so open when I started.
Yeah. So further talking about Harsha sir, because we love him so much. So India knows Harsha sir. He's like a pundit. He's like an intellectual, as you say, who's like mentoring entrepreneurs and business people. Who's like politically correct all the time. He knows what to speak when, and he's like that IIM graduate. Who's like a scholar. But when it comes to him as a person, like, are there any fun stories where he's like, he's just like any one of us, like the thing, like the side of Harsha sir that we don't get to see, but it, like as you're his friend.
Yeah, he's a family man. He has 2 sons, but he's also he's a normal human being. I've always said to him, I said, you're way too intelligent for television. I'm sure that down the line. He went to the Institute of, he went to IIM.
IIM, yeah.
That's
Indian
right.
Institute of Management, yeah.
Which is
like top there when it comes to,
it's like a Harvard or Yale. So
Yes,
he's right up there. And I have no doubt that had Harsha decided to become a business person, which he is in his own right. He has a company called The Winning Way with his wife, and he talks about leadership and mentoring and motivation. So he does all that, and he's fantastic at this.
Yeah.
But he likes a little joke now and again, and a joke on himself, and he's almost like the naughty boy in the class sometimes. He just likes a little. He does like a good laugh, and but the pressure's on him. 9 million followers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people watching your every move, and if he has an opinion and if he puts it out on a social media platform, a lot of people see it, and a lot of people comment.
Yes,
and he's had a few problems in that respect. Because people say, well, what, you didn't play international cricket. I don't subscribe to that, by the way.
Even I don't,
Because you didn't play international cricket, you can't have an opinion. That's rubbish. I think it's absolute rubbish. And in fact, let me put that into context. If you take football in this country, in Britain, Premier League football, there is not one commentator who calls the game who's played football.
Yeah.
You'll have an expert. You'll have Gary Neville, or you might have Alan Shearer, who will give you an opinion. But there is not a single television commentator, there never has been, who can sit in the number 1 seat, call a Premier League football match, and Premier League football is big business.
Yes,
and
definitely.
no one says a word. But when it comes to cricket, you have producers, executive producers, people who themselves have never played cricket. And this is a
Yes.
gripe of mine, by the way, that you have these executive producers in broadcasting companies who say you must have played at the top level to talk about the game. No, that's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And this comes from people who haven't even played the game themselves.
Yeah.
So, if you use that in context, Premier League football in this country, rugby's the same. Rugby, the top level rugby. There are commentators who have not played the game of rugby at that level, but you'll have an expert sitting next to you. And yet cricket has this sort of niche demand where, did you play international cricket? To heck with that. I feel very strongly about this.
Yeah. So, going your early tours with the Indian broadcasters. We had a conversation the other day about a story with Navjot Singh Sidhu, Harsha Bhogle, and what would you like to narrate? I think the audience will love this story. It's a really good story.
Oh, it's when I think this was 2002, wasn't it? When we
NatWest series, I guess.
The NatWest series, yeah, where India won, and India chased down 325 at Lords in the final, beat England in the final. It was a fantastic game of cricket. But Navjot was...
Is it the same match that Saurav Ganguly took his T-shirt off?
Yeah,
the balcony scene? It's the same game. Oh.
Same one. So India chased down what was then a record 326. Navjot was... he's a law unto himself. I mean, he's very different, extremely passionate, extremely emotional. But, we stayed in when India played a one-day match in Durham, we stayed in a place called the Castle. It's the Creech Castle, the Christie Castle, up there in Durham, and it's supposed to be haunted.
Oh,
it's supposed to be haunted.
I think I've heard a story about this. I think Saurav Ganguly once said something about there being like a haunted hotel, but they're staying in England while the 2002 NatWest series. I think it is the same. It could be the same. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it could be the same.
Well, this is it. And so Harsha and I decided to play a little trick on Navjot, and it was we'd had dinner and and Navjot went to his room and we thought we'd. So what we did, we just knocked on his door, and who is it? And we didn't say anything. We knocked again, and we started making these noises, and he screamed. He screamed, and then we kept knocking. Go away, go away! He was shouting, and then he opened the door, and we had just left, and so we were either side of the door, and he's looking, and then we jumped in front of him. Well, he jumped a mile. I think he saw the funny side eventually, but he didn't like it at the time. But he said that night he didn't sleep a wink because he sat up all night. He didn't use the bed because we had frightened him.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience because he put so much into his broadcasting. He wasn't everyone's cup of tea. By the way, we're talking names here of people. You will never please everyone all of the time. So as long as you know that, there's not one broadcaster in the world who everyone loves. There isn't. People like certain voice, people like an Australian voice, or they like a West Indian voice or an English voice, but they don't like everyone all the time. As long as you know that, you'll get way fairly far down the road in your broadcasting. But he was different because what he would do, Navjot, he would write down his ad-libs. Now, ad-lib means it off the top of your head, but he wrote his down, and he would check them off. He would say these things through the broadcast, through the day, He had these different expressions. If pots and pans and birds and bees, very different. And, he brought a certain element to the broadcast where he's not everyone's cup of tea, but there were people who did like him. But he was a fun guy.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely, he's loved in India a lot. I think. And I mean, we call him Sidhu Paaji. I think.
Paaji, yeah.
Yeah. So there was another story that you told me from your journey from Durham to London, where there were bags. The story of the bags. Could you please narrate it, please?
Well, they there was quite a crowd watching us leave the hotel, and
it was you and
Sonny Gavaskar, Harsha, myself, Sidhu.
Yeah, so 4 of you guys.
Yeah, and I was driving the car. It was a big car, and it was a long journey. 5 hours, 6 hours. But people wanted photographs and autographs, and I was sitting in the car.
Yeah.
And a lot of people there in England didn't know who I was, and they just said, "Well, he must be the driver."
Oh.
And we'd put our luggage into the back of the car, except Sidhu, who jumped into the car, and I said, "Everyone's bags in?" Yep. And as we drove off, I saw in my mirror 2 massive suitcases, who were Sidhu's suitcases. They were Sidhu's.
But he would expect you to pick them up, right?
And
so that's why he wouldn't.
And I said, "Somebody has left their luggage behind?" He said, "Mine's in there. You put mine in, didn't you?" And I said, "I haven't put your luggage in, Sidhu." I said, "If you want your luggage in London, you better go back and get it."
Oh.
He was he still insisted. I helped him put it back in because he thought that it was my job to put the luggage in the car. Amazing. Yeah, what a character.
So did you drive back?
I did. Well, I threatened. I threatened to drive to London without his luggage. But I said, "We'll go back and get it." So we turned around and then the people were still there looking. They were laughing. But Sidhu, the car boot was up and we put the luggage back in. But he expected me to do it. And that was the only time he did it, because he realized then that, because he said, "It's not my job. It's not my job to do that." I said, "Well, it is in England. I can tell you that now." But you see, he had such a range of suits. He had magnificent clothes, and he insisted on buying very expensive suits.
Yeah.
So his suitcases were so heavy. And I said to him, "You need to travel lighter. Otherwise you're not going to make the entire tour here." So
yeah, but he was spot on with his appearance, because he was he used to match his ties and his turban really well.
Everything.
He was spot on when it comes to
absolutely. He was in the window in the sort of connoisseurs of men's clothing. He was perfect.
Talking about Sidhu Paaji, he's made a comeback. He's commentating on the current IPL season. I don't know if you know it, but he's back at it.
Is he in English or Hindi?
Yeah, no, he's in Hindi. Obviously, come on, we cannot ask Sidhu Paaji. Sidhu Paaji in Hindi is something else, because I don't know if you know what shairi and everything is. It's like a poetry kind of a thing. But
so he's on.
Yeah.
That.
So when he plays with that, when he's playing his words, when he's doing a shairi thing, he's spot on, and people love it. People love it. It's very unconventional.
Very unconventional. He's got a following, and and I think that's pretty good of Star Sports to do that. By the way, the fact that they've now tapped back into a rich source of entertainment, because we are in the entertainment business. Yes, it's commentary, but it's entertainment, and you have to entertain people. Sidhu entertains. There will be people in India who don't want Sidhu, but there will be many, many thousands who do.
They do,
and that's why I think it's a good decision by Star Sports to have him back.
I mean, there's a bigger market in India for Sidhu Paaji than Harsha Bhogle, because Harsha Bhogle is someone I really cherish, because he's all about numbers, stats, the conditions.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yes.
When you technically break down the game, I love it. Yeah. But, there are people who are just seasonal cricket fans. They will only watch IPL, and they enjoy Sidhu Paaji because he's having a ball in that commentary box.
So actually, I've watched some IPL this week, and I've seen some great cricket. I'll actually tune into the Hindi feed.
Yeah. And Sidhu Paaji for your friend.
I'll just, I think I will. And I might message him and say, "What are you talking about? Are you missing me?" Yeah, I might do.
Yeah, so since we just tapped onto IPL, I think 2013 was your first IPL season when it came to commentary. What was like your initial thoughts when it comes to IPL?
Well,
Like,
yeah. The problem was I wanted to do IPL from the first year, 2008.
2008, yeah.
But the problem was I was contracted to ESPN Star Sports, based in Singapore, and our CEO at the time, who happened to be Indian, said I couldn't do it because contractually, the IPL was on another network.
It was Sony. It was Setmax. Yeah, it was
Sony,
with Sony.
Sony
yeah.
in those days.
Yeah.
So instead of working out a deal where I could have done some commentary, and then ESPN Star Sports could have had, say, 2 minutes of or 3 minutes of news access highlights every day. That's something that you have to organize and work out. But no, look, that didn't work out. So that was a bit disappointing. For the first 5 years, I didn't do IPL, and I was doing all other cricket in India, but not IPL.
Not
and then
IPL.
eventually it came around, and yeah, I mean it was extraordinary. The whole vibrancy, the dynamic, the full stadiums, the noise, the razzmatazz, and also the quality of the cricket. I mean, there were some very, very, and still are, outstanding cricketers playing IPL. It's high stakes, very high stakes, and a lot of money. It's the second richest sporting property in the world after NFL.
NFL, yes.
So, cricket, IPL, and it's now in its 16th year. Huge property to be involved with. Very lucky, very privileged to have done, 5, 6 IPLs, I think, something like that. Not doing it this year, but watching and enjoying it. And every year there's something different. There's a new narrative, or there's a new story. There's a young player. You've got the young South African Quick, the left armour who's
the under-19
Mapaka, and he had a chastening debut, 4 overs, none for 66. Bless him.
Against Hyderabad,
I felt for him. I think Travis Head went after him. The Virat Kohli, his numbers stack up. They absolutely stack up. And then you've got to weigh up how much a cricketer has cost a franchise. Mitchell Starc.
Let's not get
and
there.
he went for 60 odd or 50 odd the other day in his 4 overs.
Yes.
So there's always a story.
Yeah.
And it's not just the cricket stories, because cricket at this level is huge business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. And so it gets onto the front pages of the business newspapers in India, the Business Times, the Economic Times. So it's a rich source of entertainment. It's a rich source of business. And for cricketers, it's life-changing. And for some cricketers around the world, it is a life-changing contract. That you sign a contract that's worth $1 million or 900,000, doesn't matter what it is. That's going to change your life. It really is. And not just for Indian cricketers, but for overseas cricketers. So it's the most extraordinary vehicle that everyone wants to be on. And simple as that.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a part of it. It's crazy. I mean, how big. But as you mentioned, it's the second richest property when it comes to sports. What do you think makes IPL so special? What is different in IPL other than PSL or the Australian, the
Big Bash?
Big Bash or other.
I think with the Big Bash there is a geographical element for players to go all the way down to Australia. It's quite a commitment. PSL is a very good tournament. The quality of the bowling, of the fast bowling in the PSL, is very high. But the bar has been set so high by the IPL, and they've worked it out. It's been a long time coming, because the franchise is bought in at hundreds of millions of dollars, and there was a commitment. So there was the financial commitment, the business commitment, but with the salaries on offer, it is huge business for a cricketer. And you ask the question, what makes it maybe above everyone else? It's simply because with the stakes being so high, if you don't cut it as a cricketer, you're out.
Yeah.
You're out, and they'll find out.
And it's a fast-paced world,
It's
you know.
very fast-paced.
You're in today, out tomorrow.
So other companies, other tournaments are catching. Well, I don't say they're catching up, but they're copying the model. The SA20.
Yeah.
All 6 teams are owned by Indian franchises.
Indians, yeah. It's basically the same teams as well. Yeah. The jerseys are the same.
Yes.
Everything is basically.
So
the same.
you've got the DP World ILT20.
Yeah,
Now that they say they're the only international league T20. That's a very good tournament.
Yeah.
I see that as a tournament that is going to expand.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're using the UAE, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai.
Yeah.
But you've got Muscat, you've got
Oman,
probably Oman, Muscat, Oman, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
You've got Kuwait. I think it's a tournament that's going to grow. But yes, the playing field has been established by the IPL because of the stakeholders and the amount of money involved, the reach, the money, the investment, and the players are bought into it. And you know, if you don't cut it as a player, you'll sit on the bench.
Yeah.
And you don't want to sit on the bench. You want to be a part of it. I mean, there was a time I was watching Quinton de Kock last night. He smashed 71. He's one of the players I would pay money to go and watch. Quinton de Kock. Fantastic
He just completed 3,000 IPL runs last night. And amazing.
You're good. You know all the stats.
Yeah.
So there was a time where he was sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
For Lucknow, was it? Super Giants? Yeah.
No, I think he wasn't really. I guess he was, but like he's been like a really good opener.
Everyone moves around. So there was a time when you think, well, heck, if he can sit on the bench, you know, who else is taking his place in the team? But that's because the competition for places to play in an IPL side is so strong. Yeah. It's so competitive, and it should be. It's the same as playing in a Premier League football team. If you want to play for Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, Man United, it's tough to get in. And once you get in, it's a good business, and they pay well. But IPL has, and it will continue to grow. I mean, it's, you know, the season is long. It's just 2 months.
Yeah.
But it's a window that has been recognized by all the global cricket boards that the IPL is such a window, and people arrange things around it. Yeah. So it's a fantastic property.
To add to what you said, the similar story it was, I think, in 2014. Glenn Maxwell, he was the highest, he was the most paid
cricketer.
And he was bought by Mumbai Indians. And he didn't play. He was the water boy.
I know
that season. So I'm not sure about Quinton de Kock, but this is because I'm a big Mumbai Indians fan. I come from Mumbai, and I'm a big Mumbai Indians fan. But that is how I know.
Interestingly, okay. So I was watching last night as well. Nicholas Pooran.
Yeah.
Not playing for Mumbai Indians. Why not? Well, you have to ask the question. So there's another aspect to IPL as well. Kieron Pollard has Mumbai Indians in his veins. Okay, Rohit Sharma. As well, you know, Mumbai Indians. So you have to look, and Hardik Pandya has just gone back.
We're gonna get there, but it's ahead in the conversation.
So
we're
Nicholas Pooran, who played for MI New York, and won the inaugural MLC with the most staggering century in the final.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, this is a question maybe I should put out there on Twitter. Why isn't Nicholas Pooran playing for the Mumbai Indians? I'd like to know. I'm sure there's a very valid reason for it. But, you've now got to the stage where the IPL, and there's one aspect that I haven't enjoyed recently, and that is the Mumbai fans booing Hardik Pandya.
Yeah,
and I don't like this. Yeah. And I heard Sanjay Manjrekar doing the toss, and he told the Mumbai, the Wankhede fans, he said, behave.
Behave, yes.
And I think he's right. Sanjay's right to do that. If you're going to boo your home captain, you're creating a bad precedent there. So, but it's got to the stage now where 16 years down the road that you are a Mumbai Indian fan. You are.
I'm a big Mumbai Indians fan.
You're not going to follow Chennai Super Kings.
Never.
You see, you don't like the color yellow. So you're going to be blue and, MI New York.
Yes.
MI Cape Town, you're going to follow them.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So we've got to that stage where, your Arsenals and Man Cities and Liverpools have been going for well over 120 20 years and more.
Yeah.
So you're either a red or you're a blue,
Yeah.
and this is now what's happening. That's why you've got such strength of emotion by the Wankhede fans.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's the right way to express their feelings, to boo the home captain.
Yeah. I mean, like everything you just said, I completely agree to it. But like, I have a fan perspective. This is how fans think. So you are an expert. You have been in the circuit for so many years.
Yeah.
You understand better than fans, obviously, because you have like you can call up people and know the inside things. Fans cannot do that. So the fan perspective is like, so let's consider Hardik being booed. People are, and Indians are emotional. When it comes to cricket, Indians are the most emotional fans in the entire world. We take our cricket very seriously. And I'm proud of it. There's nothing, I don't look down to it. We are really passionate. We are very emotional. Obviously, there's a line that you shouldn't cross.
Yeah.
I completely agree to it. But where people are coming from is like, for example, it's not about what has happened. It is about how it has happened. So when we are talking about the captaincy change, now imagine Virat Kohli is probably the bigger name in the country, or as big as Rohit Sharma, or bigger, because he has like, if you see his Instagram, like there are like 360 or 380 million followers. So he's basically he's bigger than Rohit Sharma for sure.
Yeah.
But when Faf du Plessis is coming out for the toss, he's not booed.
No.
Even there's like a tension over there as well. But RCB fans are not like, why isn't Virat captaining? The bigger story over there, Chennai Super Kings this year. I mean, I cannot imagine if as a cricket fan, if MSD is in my side, the spot for the wicket keeper and the spot for the skipper is locked. No matter how good you are, nobody, even though I'm not a Chennai Super King fan, I don't hate the yellow, obviously. Just because I'm a MI fan, I don't hate them. But you get where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Like MSD is the skipper, he is the wicket keeper, no matter what. So to add to that, so this season Rituraj Gaikwad is captaining, but he's not booed as well. That is a bigger story than the MI story.
Yeah.
Why isn't he booed? It was, I think MSD had a say in it. It was like passing a baton. Like it was his decision. Like, okay, my time is done. Now it's time to pass on. But when it comes to Hardik Pandya, there's speculation. I'm not sure if it is true, but you can tell me if it's true or not. There were, news that when he was, I don't know if he was approached or he approached Mumbai Indians, but in his contract, there was a clause like, I'll only come back if I captain the side. Because I understand he's went on to captain Gujarat Titans, and they lifted the trophy in their inaugural season.
Yeah.
They did pretty well in the next season as well. They were playing finals against Chennai Super Kings.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. No doubt he's a gun player. Obviously, considering the future when it comes to T20 cricket, when it comes to all-rounders, he's the number one pick for sure. But the way things have happened, that is what has annoyed, the fans, and that is why there's like a big uproar, and that's why people are not happy with it.
Well, there's a few aspects there. One, you and I would never know that contract.
Yes, definitely.
So that would only be speculation.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned very clearly it's speculation.
So whoever has come up with that line, what journalist has done that, to me, that is pure speculation. I would never know what is in his contract.
Yeah.
Like he would never know what is in my contract.
Yes.
If I'm going to work on the next tournament, whoever it's for. So Hardik Pandya would not know what my earnings would be or what my contractual situation says. Yeah. So we don't know about that. But my gut feel is that I don't think he would have demanded it. And I say this because Rohit Sharma has been a fantastic captain for India and for Mumbai Indians. And he's a well-loved cricketer, and he's a wonderful human being. So is Hardik. Hardik Pandya is a fantastic guy, and he's got time for everyone. And he's also overcome the most severe injuries. His body's been through hell. So what is happening there is that the Mumbai, the Wankhede Stadium, the fans there, the hardline fans, have been very much in Rohit Sharma's corner for so long.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for them. But they've got to, sport evolves. cricket evolves.
Yeah.
Hardik, as soon as Mumbai start winning again, they've lost the first three.
Yes.
So as soon as they start winning, they'll change. But it's going to need a little bit of charm, through the social media platforms and everything else to win back the fans and to say, listen, let's back Hardik. And we can relate this to Chennai Super Kings, CSK, because you're right.
Yeah.
MS Dhoni would have had a big say in the handing over of the baton to Ruturaj Gaikwad.
Exactly.
Who's a fabulous cricketer.
Yeah.
What a player. I saw his inaugural century in Abu Dhabi a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was a magnificent innings. But MSD, now, whether this is his last season, probably. I know that my friend Danny Morrison has asked him out of the toss, come on, MS, is it the last time we're going to see you? And, there's no more down-to-earth person than Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Sure.
He's fantastic. He's one of the most
love him.
incredible people to talk to. And I've had the privilege and the pleasure of talking to him out in the middle at the toss. Do you know what he talks about? He talks about motorbikes.
Yeah. He loves his bikes.
Years ago when I was a lot younger and my hair was a darker color, and I had motorbikes. But he's got a fleet of motorbikes, and he would say, he said, you'd like my new bike? It's got whatever is this and this. I said, okay, but we got to do the toss now. Is that yeah? So he is fantastic, and the fact is, I think he's batting too low for Chennai Super Kings.
For sure. Everybody knows it.
But he is overseeing the baton handover to Ruturaj or whoever it might be. I think it probably will be Ruturaj Gaikwad. It is him now.
Yeah.
But also you've got the shrewdest brain in cricket in Stephen Fleming, who's there with Mike Hussey there and Eric Simons. They have this fantastic bond with that franchise, with Chennai Super Kings, with Srinivasan, the way he's run it, the way they have run that empire.
Yes.
And MSD has bought into it to such an extent. It was quite phenomenal the other night where, they couldn't get the runs. MS came out and it got down to, I think, 41 needed off the last over. But the fans, the noise level, the decibels was so loud. And it was the most raucous atmosphere. But that's because he has been such a gladiator
for
for
sure.
Chennai, for Super Kings. And he is doing this the right way. Now you look at that and what's happening with Mumbai.
Exactly, yeah.
Mumbai needs to find its level of charm. And without being smarmy, charm, I'm talking about winning the fans, getting the fans back in your corner.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is for your fans to be booing your home captain. That will change. It will change. One good win will change. You remember a few years ago, Mumbai lost the first five. Or 5 or 6, and they came back and I think they won the tournament.
When the season started in Dubai and then we came back to India. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, we lost all the matches in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah, in UAE all the matches were lost.
Things can change. But that's because this tournament means so much to people in India. And not just in India, around the world.
Around the world.
It's watched here.
Sure. Yeah.
It's watched in this country. It's you look, what's the time now? And you can watch, you can sit for hours watching IPL. So it's that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, but I agree to whatever you said. But to conclude the thing, I think with Indians, I think as we said, we are very emotional. Changes have to be over time. You cannot just change something like that and expect people to accept it. That doesn't go very well with Indians. You have to do eventually you have to make them comfortable with the next big thing that is going to happen, and then they'll accept it with their whole hearts.
Okay, here's the thing. I have been privileged, Niranjan, I've been privileged to work at Augusta to watch Tiger Woods.
Yes.
At Wimbledon to watch Roger Federer. At Lord's to watch Sachin Tendulkar. I'm not sure how many people in the world, broadcasters, have had the privilege to cover the essential years of those three massive sportsmen, their careers. Then if you narrow it to cricket, I played against Sunny Gavaskar.
Yes.
I have commentated on Sunny Gavaskar, with Sunny Gavaskar. Then Sachin Tendulkar, and now it's Virat.
Yes.
How do you put it to an Indian audience? Who's the greatest of those? How do you put that? Imagine that. We're going to have a vote next week. We're going to put it up there. Vote for your favorite Indian cricketer of all time. Could be Sunny Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, Rahul Dravid. The roll call of honour is so vast. And yet, you see, I'm coming to the point that a person's career finishes and there's someone else. The baton is handed on. That's the wonderful nature of our sport, of any sport.
Yeah.
I was absolutely crestfallen when Roger Federer decided to hang up his cricket shoes, his tennis shoes. His tennis shoes. I couldn't imagine a Wimbledon without Roger Federer. But before that, I was a huge Pete Sampras fan. Pete Sampras fan. And yet, Roger Federer beat Pete Sampras in 2002, and the great Sampras went away quietly. Roger Federer still earning huge sums of money because of his influence in the sport. Sachin Tendulkar, huge influence in the sport. MSD will have the same. Virat will have the same. It's new India now. Virat is new India. He's in your face new India. He's different from Sachin. He's different from Sunny. But by golly, he's good to watch.
Yeah.
And I first saw Virat when he was captain of the Indian under-19s in 2008. I covered that tournament in Kuala Lumpur, a place called Kinrara. And he looked like a film star then.
Yeah.
He looked like a film star.
Yeah.
And Jadeja was also in that side.
Yeah.
Looked like a film star. They looked the real deal. And
there were a bit of flamboyance, which was missing previously.
It's the right word, flamboyance.
Yeah.
They had something. Virat has always had something. He has always been. I mean, I've watched so much with such close attention to his career because I've literally grown up with it, and I love what he's done. I love how he's picked up the baton from Sachin, and Sachin did from Sunny.
Yeah.
And who's the next one? Who's the next one? You know, this is why cricket is such a fantastic storybook, and tennis.
Yes.
You know, and golf, but cricket essentially, because India is followed by over a billion Indians. It is, the stakes are so high. And you ask me about IPL, it's because of all these stories, these narratives, and we'll talk. I mean, you and I could talk all day.
All day.
We could talk all day about Virat Kohli.
Yes.
But he has such a reach. How many did you say? Over 300 million people on Instagram?
Yeah.
Who want to know.
More than 360 million followers.
All right?
Yeah,
who want to know about Virat.
Yeah.
They want to know things about him that, you know, he needs a private life as well.
Yeah,
he has to have one.
For sure.
You know? So, you know, he can't go down the road and go to a little restaurant if he wanted to, or go to the cinema if he wanted to. He can't do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us really understands what it must be like to be Sachin or Sunny or Virat or MS. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yes.
You know, it's I guess in a way it's a bit like Taylor Swift. in right, you know, she is magnificent. What a performance! But you appeal now because social media, because everything is, this is your office now. This you can broadcast on this thing.
Yes.
And so everything has been brought out into the public eye, and everyone wants to say. And there are good aspects to that and bad aspects to it.
Yeah, for sure. But as you mentioned, like obviously I'm coming up with a very obvious question. What do you think about the Sachin versus Virat comparison?
Sachin versus Virat.
Yeah, about who is the greatest of all?
That's so difficult. You can't say it because I think it's so difficult to compare an era with another era. I think you can, obviously you say, I mean, Sachin was the most magnificent player, but look who batted with him. VVS Lachman, Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, even lesser players Sanjay Banga opened the batting. They didn't get the plaudits that some of the bigger boys did. But now Virat will tell you he'll bat one end, but there's another player at the other end. Do you know who one of my favorite cricketers in the world is and has been ever since I've seen him?
No.
Jadeja.
Ravindra Jadeja.
Jadoo. Oh, Jadoo. Jadoo bowls the left arm spin that I would love to have bowled.
Yeah.
Then I think I might have played cricket a bit longer. But I love watching him field. He's like he's like a leopard in the field. He's magnificent. And 3 first-class triple centuries. He can bat, he can bowl, he can field. I just love I love what he brings for whichever team he plays for. And don't underestimate the strength of character that he brings that Virat feeds off as well. You need Jadoo. You need Jadeja in that side.
Yes.
So
for sure.
I can't answer who's the greatest.
Yeah.
Who's the greatest boxer? Muhammad Ali, George Foreman. I don't think you can do it, Muhammad Ali, in my book. But I think you'll find that what Virat has done, he has incentivized, he has motivated every cricketer he's played with. He demands high standards, standards of fitness. And because the public eye is so strong, let's not forget that when Sonny Gavaskar was scoring all those magnificent hundreds in the Caribbean, there was no camera on him.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no mobile phone to film Sonny Gavaskar's hundreds, 12 of them, I think it is, or 13 in the Caribbean.
Yes.
But Virat's only got to scratch his head and it's a headline. He's got to maybe brush his nose. Oh, headline. So the scrutiny is, I don't know how they tolerate it, but they do. And they do because they're in the public eye 24/7.
Yeah, that is true. But I'm a bit I don't think so my opinion matters as much as yours does, but I'm a bit biased. I love Sachin. I mean, there's something because I agree to what Sir Bran Lara says. According to him, he's when you talk about boxing, you'll talk about Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
When you talk about basketball, you talk about Michael Jordan. There are people who might have breached the records or are on the verge of breaching those records. Yeah. But still you talk about Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan when it comes to boxing and basketball respectively. Sure. So similarly when it comes to cricket, I'll talk about Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, I go along with that in the sense that my cricket broadcasting very much ran parallel with Sachin's career.
Yes.
And Sachin was the first $1 million cricketer. And that was the vision of Mark Mascarenhas, who had a company, Will Tell. And frankly, Sachin responded to the call. Sachin, his place in the pantheon of cricketers in India is cemented because he has lifted India is now an economic powerhouse in the world. Yeah. It's a thriving economy. It's up there. It's United States, China, Japan, India is up there.
Up there, yes.
The growing up of India, Sachin was part of that. And so the responsibility of having to bat and get the runs and knowing that over 1 billion Indians were watching your every move. Sachin did that with such grace, such dignity. An extraordinary story, and it really is what Sachin has been for India, and Virat is now picking it up and has done and is doing so. And in there as well is MSD.
Yes.
MSD won the tournament, the World Cup in 2011. He smashed the six, and here's another thing as well I want to, because we're talking at this level. Kerry Packer changed the face of cricket. The Australian businessman changed the face of cricket. We had white ball cricket, night cricket, black side screen, coloured clothing, Kerry Packer. Mark Mascarenhas created the first $1 million cricketer, Sachin Tendulkar.
He created a brand out of the player.
A brand. And those two are two of the most influential people. So tragic that his life ended so tragically in a car crash.
Car crash, yes.
The person who I think has got and will have a major influence on cricket in the years ahead? Ravi Shastri. Ravi Shastri. Rafi he's been through all this. He was a big friend of Mark Mascarenhas. He has seen it. He has been close to the Indian team. He's been a team director. He's been the team coach where India was the number one side in the ICC rankings for 5 years. He's the big voice in the room. He's the big commentator. He's the Audi global ambassador when India won the World Championship. Ravi, to me, has a massive part to play in our sport.
Yes.
Kerry Packer, Mark Mascarenhas, Ravi Shastri. Now, he doesn't know I'm saying this. And he's probably, if somebody tells him, you want to hear what Alan Wilkins said about you. But
I'm sure someone might say, someone might pass it on to him.
But this, I believe it. I believe that, this game that we love, this game of cricket, is so fast moving. It changes daily.
Yes.
It changes so much that someone who's got such a wide empirical view as Ravi has, I believe has a huge say in how our game is run. For
sure. I think he's like one of those players who have went on to broadcasting commentary and they're equally good. He's as good as a player, as he is as a commentator. And also, I really love the way his attitude is, the way he thinks. It's very unlike, his counterparts back then. They were very simple beings. And then he's he was a bit flamboyant, back in the days as well.
Yes.
I feel.
He learned how to commentate by copying or listening to seasoned broadcasters back in the day, Richie Benno, Ray Illingworth and Tony Cozier, so Ravi, but then he's picked up his own style.
So, coming towards the conclusion of our podcast, let's discuss a little bit about, the upcoming T20 World Cup. I mean, with a heavy heart, I say, we had a really good run in the 2023 50-over World Cup, but it was just one game in the finals and it obviously didn't work out. But you have to move on, So what do you think, Rohit Sharma? First of all, I need your opinion on, do you think Rohit Sharma is the skipper or there's going to be a change over there as well? Is he leading the side or do you think someone's going to take over? And having said that, what should be one thing, what approach should be different than it was in the 2023 World Cup that could lead us to...
I don't think India needs to change its approach much more, one game. And T20, a game of T20 can change in 6 balls.
Yes,
it can change in 3 balls. I think Rohit will lead the side. At this stage, I don't really see why you have to change that.
Yeah, definitely.
Competition for places will be as intense as we've ever known.
Yes.
What is an unknown quantity for this tournament in June is the pitches.
Yes.
The new stadium, new pitches.
Yeah.
We don't know much about them. So,
the stadium where India is going to play Pakistan is still not entirely built. It's building right now as we speak.
Don't worry. They'll get it done. So I think it's wide open.
One final thing, coming back to the T20 World Cup, I think to summarize the finals that India played against Australia on 19 November, what do you think went wrong for India's side? One game and it...
Yeah, one game. Look, I've said it before, Niranjan, one game of cricket can change like this. It can change. Australia are strong.
Yes.
They turn up. Mentally, they're very strong. I'm not saying they're India are weak by any means, but Australia have just got this extra gear.
Yes,
which they go into. I'd have to look at the scorecard again, and you've thrown me with this one now. But I would just say that Australia, on that day with Travis Head getting those runs, and it went away. Maybe the pitch didn't behave in the way that India thought it would.
Yeah.
That was...
It was a slow wicket. So, I saw an interview of Mohammad Kaif where, he discussed, before 3-4 days before the final match, Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma used to go towards the pitch, and there used to be like a long discussion regarding what's going to be like. And, Mohammad Kaif is like, I've seen the pitch, change colors, when the sun is out, they're watering the pitch. And I've literally seen the pitch, get into like the final pitch there where the World Cup final is going to be played. And because Australia had the likes of Stark, Cummins, India decided, because it's your home World Cup, you have a bit of advantage. So they made sure it was a slow pitch, and that worked against India.
Yeah, a lot of factors, a lot of elements go into the pot. But I go back to the fact that, mentally, and Virat got out at the wrong time.
Yes.
And we were all shocked when that happened. Again, it's the weight of expectation on Virat's shoulders.
Yes.
Look, it happens.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose.
Yeah.
And nobody's got a divine right to have a winning ticket every time.
Yes.
But it could change. Australia, they've got they're blooding new players as well, especially for this tournament. And you look at South Africa. Look at the way that even their SA20 tournament will help their players blend into this T20. Will it be a winning module for them? A lot of questions.
Yes, a lot of questions.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So here we are at the conclusion of our podcast. I would like to thank you again. Thank you so much for taking out time and coming in this wonderful studio in the campus and talking to us. Yeah. It's an absolute honor and privilege to host you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Niranjan. Thanks a lot.